Hi everybody. In my first video about car flipping, I wanted to talk a little bit about the buying process. We're going to talk about how to, wherever you live, how to track down a good deal and buy it, what to look for, what to avoid. I want to talk firstly about my methods for looking online. I mean, the bulk of my flips are found on Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji here in Ontario. So I have a couple of strategies for finding good flip cars within those spaces. That being said, don't limit yourself to those, because even just driving around, I mean, if it stuff doesn't even need to have a for sale sign on it. I mean, if you're seeing a car, if you watch a car sit for 3 months in someone's driveway and it's gathering dust, and it's the kind of car that people are trying to buy, there's no harm in going up to that person's door and knocking and saying, hey, I'm interested in purchasing this vehicle. Could we talk about that? And, they might tell you to take off. That's cool. They might be interested in maybe getting it out of their driveway, right? So don't limit yourself to online. Keep your eyes open everywhere you go. Like I say, though, because of the way most people want to sell cars, obviously the bulk of your options are going to be online. Essentially what I do when I start shopping online for a vehicle that I want to flip is I'll be going into the filters. First of all, I buy local. I mean, I've never bought out of town. It's not to say that I wouldn't, but like I say, the options are good enough where I live, where I haven't had to look out of town for flip cars. What I normally do is I'll go into the more advanced filters on whether it's Marketplace, Kijiji. I don't really look at Auto Trader that much. What I do is I go into the filters and I look for any vehicle that is a 2005 or newer vehicle, and I price at $1,000 or less. And what you get in that zone is you get newer vehicles that are new enough to sell. People are interested in buying them still. They don't look at them and go, oh, that's an old car, I don't want that. People are interested in the cars, but because they're priced lower, they always have problems. And what you're doing is you're sifting through the problems and you're deciding what you can deal with and what you're capable of dealing with. So like I say, I'm looking for always mechanical problems. I mean, I like mechanical issues. I like long safety lists. Here in Northwestern Ontario, I'm in Thunder Bay, Ontario. We have a fairly stringent vehicle safety process here, where in order to register a vehicle or to transfer ownerships, you're having to safety check your car. And I mean, overall, it's a good thing. I mean, you want roadways full of safe vehicles. Obviously, it's a benefit to everyone. But that being said, people end up in the situation where they go to shops. They go in because maybe they got a clunk in their front end or something. And then here's a mechanic handing you a $4,000 bill. Like, hey, this is what it's going to cost to get this car roadworthy. You may want to consider not driving this until you do some repairs on it. And so at that point, a lot of people who aren't mechanically inclined don't want to pay that kind of money to a shop. And so they're gonna need to get rid of the car and get into something that they can drive. And so the position you're in as someone who's capable of flipping vehicles is you're looking for the person who just wants to get rid of a problematic car. It's something that, it's taking up space in their driveway, that kind of thing. They want it gone. Your goal is to acquire that vehicle for as low as you possibly can and put as little money into it as you can to make it safe for the next person who's going to buy it from you. And so we'll talk about that process. I want to talk a little bit about this car, this 2004 MDX. I'll talk about the good and bad of some of the things that I like about this car, some of the things that I don't like about this car. You're never going to find the perfect flip car. That's something important to remember. There's always going to be something that kind of is annoying about it. I mean, I really don't know how many people where I live are doing this, but I assume it's quite a few, so there is competition for good cars. Obviously, the easier and cheaper a flip is, the faster it's going to sell, because people are paying attention. People are out there looking for, every day they're looking for new deals. And so that's, if you want to do this regularly, anyone can luck into a good car, a good flip car every now and then. But if you want to do this regularly for good, consistent money on the side, you want to look every single day, whether you're buying that day or not. Just get a good feel for what's out there. You might see a car go up for $1,500 that you would buy at $600 or $700, and maybe next week that car is down to $1,000. And who knows? Maybe you call that person and say, hey, I'll give you $7 right now. And maybe you catch them on the right day where they need that money, and that's your car now, right? So it's important to be aware of what's out there, keep an eye on things, watch cars for a long time if you're interested in them, you know, keep an eye on them. Obviously you're going to lose cars, you know, sitting there looking at them, but if the money, if the price isn't right, don't buy it. You know, that's the other thing, is you cannot be wrapped up emotionally in getting the car that you want. I mean, you're going to lose cars if you stick to a process, right? I will not buy a car that I don't think I can make at least $2,000 on. Some people will do it for less, and they're going to get more cars than me because they have a lower bar. And you got to decide where your bar is at and go from there. The listing told me that it had 220,000 kilometers on it, which is a little high. I like to stay under 200 if possible, but I mean, it depends on the vehicle, right? I mean, an Acura, a Honda, people will generally accept slightly higher kilometer numbers if the cars are in decent shape. The other thing that made this appealing to me was the fact that it's a large SUV with third row seating. That makes it attractive. It's all-wheel drive, V6, a lot of luxury options being an Acura. You know, the sunroof, the heated seats, things that people want. So, you know, like I say, I was definitely willing to look at it even at the higher kilometers. Carried on looking around the rest of the vehicle. I was a little bit disappointed once we got the battery hooked up to find that the car actually had 265,000 kilometers on it, which is, again, too high, like more than what I want. I won't say too high because I bought it. But it's the kind of thing where the higher the kilometers the higher you get in kilometers, you're going to box out more and more buyers. People get less interested in cars. Obviously, the higher the kilometers go, you kind of have to price better. But again, I was getting the car. I was confident that I could get the car for a couple hundred less than she was asking. So I was, you know, still good to look around at least and make sure everything was good. Part of my process when I'm looking around a car that I'm going to buy, you're checking out things that you know are going to cost you money. So you're looking at the brakes, you're looking at the tires, you're looking at glass, you're looking at any fluids leaking. You know, you start it up, you're listening for exhaust leaks, things like that. You're having a good look over the car. I was happy with the overall state of the car. It's very dirty inside. I'm going to do a quick walk around in a little bit, kind of show you the inside and outside. But yeah, overall I was okay with the car. You know, like I say, I didn't make an offer right then because I wasn't 100% sure I was going to take it on with the kilometers it had on it. But after going home, I kind of, you know, I knew that it needed some stuff. I was also fortunate enough to be told by the seller that it was in for a safety previous. I don't know when, but at some point, the front struts were called on a safety, as well as some exhaust leak out in the rear of the car somewhere, muffler or something. So that was pretty good. The brakes look pretty new on the car. The tires are good. The glass is all good. I'm comfortable with all those things. So I got in contact with the seller. Is a young lady, I think, probably a student looking to sell the car because she was leaving town in the next couple of weeks. You know, needed to get rid of it, I guess, had purchased a different vehicle before at some point. Spoke to her about, you know, the issues with the car, what she knew. When I got down to her place to see the car, we found it, she explained that the battery was completely dead. You know, I had understood that the car was a no start, so I asked her, I was like, is the battery the only reason that the car won't start? And she says, oh yeah, no, it'll start and run. So I said, okay, perfect, let's hook it up to my truck. We'll see if this thing will turn over. So, you know, I was expecting maybe a broken timing belt or something. I had no idea what to think. So I hooked up the truck. The car started, first crank, perfect, started up, awesome. So I was like, okay, so, you know, clearly there's some kind of charging issue going on here. As soon as we pulled the jumper cables off, the car died. So the battery wasn't being charged at all. Come to find out that actually the AC compressor it looks to be locked up. So basically the ring came off, corroded off is what it looks like. And, off of the AC compressor, and won't turn the serpentine belt anymore. So that's not bad. You know, given that the car ran, that was fine. That I was pretty comfortable with the car in general because it's an Acura. I mean, they're sought after in this area. People do like the Acuras. The older Acuras tended to be ahead of their time in terms of features, in terms of overall quality. I mean, just looking around here, I'll flip my camera. And looking around the vehicle, I mean, just from the driver's seat, it is filthy, but you have things like power seats with memory. You know, you have heated seat options down here. This is obviously leather inside. You got the sunroof up here. It's got the Bose premium surround with the with the 6-disc changer, you know, the large screen. This isn't a nav screen or anything, but again, people like to see these large displays here. And overall, like, nothing missing, nothing broken, just dirty. So as I mentioned, one of the really nice selling features for this car is the third row seat. You know, people really like these. You know, a lot of people want the third row but don't really feel like getting into a minivan. And, you know, having an SUV in this price range with a third row seat really appeals to people. Moving to the outside, this isn't the cleanest car ever, but I mean, with the mileage that it has on it, you know, you can't expect perfection. You know, things that you're expecting to see are kind of these hazy headlights. You know, there's a little bit of cheese here and there on this thing. The rear liftgate has a little bit of bubbling on the back as well. Just up under here. More of the hallmarks of a neglected vehicle. You get a little bit of this kind of paint overspray in places, you know, where people have attempted repairs. Kind of this, you know, the orangeness of the wheels, the alloy wheels. People love to see alloy wheels on cars as well. You know, just the general sort of scratch and dent nature of these cars in these lower price points. You know, all these things are pretty easily dealt with. They're part of the reason that you can buy a pretty nice car relatively cheap for these purposes. So it's not something to worry about. It's actually, you know, kind of in a way a thing to celebrate. You know, it gives you, if you have some inclination to fix it, gives you some good buying opportunities. So when you're buying in areas where road salt is used on the roads, you want to have a really good look at the underside of these vehicles. You know, to the outside here, you have your rocker panels, and like you can see that there's some orangeness, but they're very solid. There's no holes anywhere in the underside of this vehicle. You know, you want to have a good look when you're buying. Obviously, you know, just make sure that all the floor is solid and all that kind of stuff. This being a higher mileage Canadian vehicle, you're going to see some rust. It's highly uncommon to see a vehicle this age with this type of mileage not have some, you know, some sort of vague crustiness about it. But like I say, you're looking for structural integrity. You know, you don't want to have to start fixing holes in things. Quick look under the engine bay in this thing. Got the hood held up with my trusty snow brush. The shocks are not in good shape anymore. That's something that'll be replaced by the time I put the car up for sale. You know, when you're dealing with a car, especially an older one like this with the higher miles, you want to kind of help the you want to do your best to help the new buyer kind of forget that it's an older vehicle. So, you know, if they go to open the hood, which, you know, anyone shopping for a car is going to open the hood, one of the first things they're going to do is open the hood. If they notice that the hood struts are gone, it's not a deal breaker, but they're gonna, anything that points toward the age is gonna help deter a buyer, right? Pretty normal engine bay. I got a brand new battery in here just to move it off the street when it was delivered. Down here is kind of where it gets interesting. So we have right there the power steering cap is missing and all the fluid's gone out of there. Looking down a little farther, I'm not even sure if it's going to be visible, but down in the bottom there's a little red cap that's for that power steering reservoir. And then again, probably barely visible on camera, is the ring off of the AC compressor is just sitting down there on the subframe. So you can see we've got a lot of slack in this belt, so that's not turning the alternator or the power steering pump. During that event, when that ring broke off, I'm assuming that damaged that lower power steering hose, so that'll be on order as well. Something else that I'm gonna have to deal with. There's this random wire here. This goes into the trunk area. I'm assuming it's just somebody running 12 volts, maybe for a utility trailer or something like that. I doubt I'm going to redo this. I'll probably just make it disappear. So after you decide you're ready to purchase a car, you're going to get a hold of the person that's selling the vehicle and you're going to hit them with an offer. The ask was $700. After looking the car over, I felt more comfortable in the $400 range. So my offer that I put into the seller was $400. They countered me at $500, and I felt that was an acceptable price to pay for this. So once I towed it home, tow plus tax was $113. So I will have $613 into the car landed in my driveway.